Still alive, and McMeekin's done well to keep this alive for Victory. The first time strike is really, really good from Melbourne Victory. So it's chased down really well. Good tenacity and the centering ball. Well, that is a lovely finish for Melbourne Victory. Sakalis puts the head down, nudges the ball inside. Policina will shoot. That's what Rihanna Policina is oh so capable of doing. Shoot on sight, and shoot she does. Melbourne Victory, they've got 3.
Victory back to their winning ways in the only match of the weekend. Hello and welcome to Dub Zone. I'm Amy Duggan. Back again, we have A-Leagues commentator Teo Pellizzeri and two-time Ninja A-League Championship winner Teresa Polias. Great to have you back for the show. T, we missed you last week.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah, well, a little bit of a holiday because we're going to get straight into our one and only game of the weekend. It was a dominant first half performance from last year's grand finalist Teresa, chalking up a 3-0 win.
Yeah, probably the worst time to play Victory after their disappointing loss to Wellington. So, yeah, really hard day at the office for Perth. I thought Victory dominated the game. The first 20 found it hard to break Perth down, and then, you know, catastrophic mistake opened it up for the Victory, and after that Perth just couldn't regather and keep them out.
And you can see the trend of both goals coming from wide areas on the right. McMeekin with the assist for the first, Furphy for the second, and Sophia Sakalis, a goal and an assist. This is a player who I think would have been struggling to make the bench at Victory if not for the injury crisis they found themselves in, and now her form has been really outstanding. So it seems as though even when Victory face adversity, the depth of their squad is coming through for them.
Yeah, it's nice to see a youngster like Sakalis get on, and I really think her game and Policina's game complement each other, and they've got good footballing brains, and I think they're linking up really nicely on the pitch.
Perth had a few chances, a much better second half showing than a first half showing, but didn't manage to find the back of the net.
Perth are a fine margins team at the moment. I mean, if this goes in for 1-1, it is a different game. There's belief. I mean, Bhandari hits the post and Ella Lincoln misses the follow-up. They've got the strikers, but they don't have the confidence at the moment, T. 4 losses in a row. Now they're on a streak of games where they haven't scored. They were the one team that really actually needed the international break off. At least they go into bye week, and then they go into 2 consecutive games at home. It's worth remembering that as much as they're struggling at the moment, they have only played 1 home game.
That's right,
and
yeah.
I feel like Perth are a different proposition at home.
It's worth noting, you know, out of the 5 last games, 4 have been away, and that does take a toll on them. They've spoken, you know, about that. I know when you sign for Perth, you know what you're in for in terms of that, but it has been a tough schedule for them, and like you said, Teo, they have really great strikers. I think their issue is sort of defensively. They're making errors that are costing them at the moment.
Well, back-to-back 3-0 defeats for Perth Glory. Julia Sardo spoke to us after the match.
Yeah, it's hard. You know, this is our 3rd one in a row, which is difficult. You know, you're travelling 5 hours each way. It's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of recovery. You do also miss 1 training session, so everyone kind of has 4. We only have 3 because we have a travel day. So, yeah, it's really hard on our bodies, and it's really hard when we lose too. We can't put our heads down, you know. We got to just keep moving forward. We can't just, you know, stay on the loss, and, yeah, we just got to keep moving forward.
Julia Sardo from Perth there after their 3-0 defeat, back-to-back 3-0 defeats, in fact, and talking about travel having an impact on their results and probably the way they play, Teo.
Not to let them totally off the hook, though. If they start playing like this in home games, then it's a massive problem. I suppose Perth, even when they've had Sam Kerr winning golden boots, winning Julie Dolan medals, they've managed to miss finals in outstanding seasons from her. A lot needs to go right when you are in the most isolated major city on the planet, and you know, as you said, T, the travel that you sign up for.
Look, I mean, going there once a season with Sydney was hard enough, and I'd lament that every season because you go there, you play the time difference as well. You're playing at sort of 10 o'clock at night that you're used to. So it is hard for them, and I think they'll welcome this bye week. And then after that, I think 4 of the next 5 rounds are home games. So I'll judge them after those 5, I think.
And their 1 home game was at HBF Park. The fans love Sam Kerr Football Centre, and they need to rally behind this team. There's still so much of the season to go. There is no reason to jump off. These next 2 games, absolutely vital.
Where do they look for success? That is the question.
That's right. Look, they have a good squad. They've got great strikers, and I think with the bye round now, they'll really work on some defensive elements of the game. And like I said, yeah, the next 4 rounds, I think we can really judge them after that.
We have spoken about Victory quite a lot, and we'll head back there now. Of course, they've off-season recruitment was something we've spoken about very highly. We saw Taylor Ray come back onto the field on the weekend, making her first appearance off the bench. But one of the recruits that's gone under the radar, and I know you've picked up on her a couple of times, Teo, is Zoe McMeekin.
Look, this is a great opportunity for Zoe McMeekin under a defensive coach in Jeff Hopkins, and we've seen her be a really attack-minded wing-back in this Victory system to break into the New Zealand national team, win some caps and become a regular in that side. New Zealand are looking for optimistic players to lead them into a new era. McMeekin's got to be in the conversation now, and a full season of this form at Melbourne Victory, I think it's inevitable that she will be a regular football player.
She's showing what she can bring, and, you know, every time she gets the ball, she's looking forward. She's that kind of player. She likes to play in, you know, Furphy in behind, and I think definitely the kind of player New Zealand need out there to get the ball forward and to start creating chances and take it to teams instead of sitting off and absorbing so much pressure. She's been really great to watch, and what another great signing for Victory she's been. And
didn't tire either, which says she's got the engines to play out there, up and back, up and back, up and back. Another Victory off-season signing, Kennedy White. Pretty amazing revelation. You know, so many goals now. Is it 5 goals in 2 games?
5 goals, yeah, great signing. You know, we knew she had a goal-scoring prowess in her former club as well, and she's actually come here, adapted to Australian life, the weather here. That's a big thing when foreigners come here, particularly from places where they play in the winter, and she's doing amazingly well.
Well, let's hear from her now, Kennedy White, following that big 3-0 win.
I was in Europe before, which I feel like is a pretty technical league over there. But here is just super athletic, fast. Players are really strong, pretty similar to football in the U.S. And so I've really been enjoying it, getting stronger in the gym, faster as a team. So it's been great.
What about the Melbourne weather, Kennedy?
It's not my favorite, but it'll do. The good days are really nice, but then all of a sudden it just starts to rain, even when it's sunny. So I just don't get it. I don't understand, but it's fine. Well, can't have it all.
No, you can't have it all. They have good coffee in Melbourne. The weather, not so good though. Lucky Kennedy White's not there in the winter and leading our Ninja A-League Golden Boot at the moment. Time to check in now with A-Leagues reporter Narlene Musto. Welcome to the desk. Time to shine a light on some of our Ninja A-League young guns.
Thanks, Amy. Yes, we'll start off with the young Matildas. They were in action against South Korea. 2 games, 1-0 win, 4-1 win. What more could you ask for? And we actually spoke to the head coach, Alex Sapakis, and 2 of the Ninja A-League players, Alexia Postolakis and Grace Kuilamu, to hear more about how it all played out.
It's always very enjoyable to play against a really tough opponent like South Korea, and I think the girls found it very valuable, especially coming off the back of a pretty successful qualifiers campaign and stepping closer towards the Asian Cup next year.
They did give us a run for our money, especially at the start of this game. They came out hard.
The opposition are a very top-class team, and seeing how we responded to that, how we found some solutions and obviously found ways to get 2 really good results. I think that's a huge outcome for us.
Very well done, what a response!
You know, Grace hasn't had too many opportunities to be in many of our camps, but this week she's come in and she's really elevated the environment. The energy she can bring, it's game-changing, and that was really nice to watch.
He said since day one that we have the team to make it, so he really backs us in the talent that we have in our squad.
The way he gets around the players and establishes the culture, it really builds from the ground up, and I think everyone feels that belief.
Alexia's a super competitive player, she's very versatile, and you know, I believe that when you've got an experienced player like that as well, it's not so much me just coaching her, but together we're both growing. You know, she's making me a better coach. I think they're the reasons why probably the 2 of them have had that exposure already to the senior team. You know, and my job's to help them get back up there as soon as possible.
I guess a lot of the girls here, they do play A-League as well. So it's great to see them in their A-League teams and then coming and bringing their best skills to this platform.
You know, coming to camp and we're playing with each other now is, we form such good friendships, and then we play each other on the pitch next week. You know, we want to win and we want to go deep into those tournaments. So, you know, we're preparing for that, which is coming up in April, and all we can do is work on ourselves individually, and hopefully those results will take care of themselves.
Awesome to hear from Grace. She was one of the few Ninja A-League players who got on the score sheet. We also saw Sky Hamrick, Avani Prakash, as well as Josie Allen get on the score sheet. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on which youngster you're most looking forward to seeing progress in the Ninja A-League to really see them seal a sport come at the Under-20 Women's Asian Cup next year.
Well, I'll kick that one off. Alexia Apostolakis, obviously, and I'm picking her as well because she's a defender. So much of our attitude is always against strikers and attacking players. So it's great to see her doing a great job, good distribution, strong on the ball, and as Alex mentioned, quite versatile. I know she's already playing for Melbourne City and doing quite a good job there, but I would love to see her take that next step into the Matildas squad as time progresses.
Yeah, well, first of all, I thought the results fantastic against such a strong opposition that we've always had close encounters with. So really promising signs before their Asian Cup. But yeah, I'm happy to see Amelia Kassar in the squad. Avani Prakash, I think she'll bring a lot to that squad as well. And of course, I think Maddie Kaspers is in really fine form at the moment, and she'll be a key player in that squad.
I think it's important to remember that they made 8 changes to this squad from the ones that previously assembled for the last camp. So they are spoilt for choice in terms of depth, and I'm hoping that in the new year, Sienna Silvesca will be back playing regular Ninja A-League football in order to make her run at getting into the tournament. And you just never know with Indiana Dos Santos's rehab from her ACL injury, suffered unfortunately in a young Matildas camp over the A-League off-season. I don't think they will rush her, obviously. They'll play the long game with a young player. But if things go well, I'd love to see those two come in because they have such a wealth of creative players and attacking options. And with Grace Quilamu leading the line, that's almost like when the under-17 men had Nesta Iran Kunda. To have that sort of a player at an under-20 tournament is hugely exciting.
And to have so much depth around of under-20s players, I think it's so positive.
Yeah, it's a big squad to pick from.
Absolutely, and I'd be curious to see if any of them can break into that senior squad because the Matildas were in action against New Zealand we saw last week. They're also playing that second game tonight. But what was interesting is Holly McNamara coming off the bench, making a direct impact, the assist for Katrina Gorry goals, and also won us a penalty, albeit didn't convert. We also saw Michelle Heyman and Tamika Yallop get some minutes as well. But it was interesting to hear from their head coach, Joe Montemurro, after speak about how because they were playing such a high press and very aggressive, there were moments there where New Zealand did kind of show some vulnerabilities of Australia's in transition. So I want to hear from you guys about, do you expect us, Amy, to adapt that aggressive high press when you come up against nations like Japan come the Women's Asian Cup?
First, can we just acknowledge the quality of the goal there from Hurricane Cross, because I know we've seen her do it before, but absolutely outstanding, and it was good in the men's A-League too to see. I think it was Ethan Alagic have a crack from halfway and copy her on the weekend. Must have been watching the Matildas the night before. But back to your question, the high press. You know, against a team like New Zealand, you can get away with it, and to see that vulnerability against a team of that quality, I guess begs some questions about what would happen against a more high-quality opposition. It didn't play well for Australia back in the 2019 World Cup, and I'm sure we can all remember that game against Italy. And against a quality opposition, I think you need to have a few things. You need to have speed in defence, you need to have the what-if mentality, and you need to be able to get in a position to delay until midfield can get back and help you in that situation. So for me, exposing a vulnerability against an opposition like New Zealand just raises bigger questions when you're playing a higher quality opposition.
Yeah, I think the first thing you look at is your opposition. And I think the best teams in the world are able to adapt their playing style according to the opposition. I thought it was an outstanding performance implementing that high press. I think they really took it to New Zealand and basically strangled New Zealand out of that game, and they were a class above basically. But you know, when you look at major tournaments and the best teams in the world and more formidable opponents, I think you know, what's going to show how good the Matildas is their ability to adapt their style of play to meet the needs against, you know, other opponents where you're not going to be able to you won't have the ball as much as you did in that game. It's more shared. The high press against certain teams, you know, they're not going to be able to maintain that over a whole match. So great to see we're able to do that high press, and you know the girls executed the game plan fantastically well. But I would love to see, how they adapt that to more formidable opponents.
Just a quick word on New Zealand. I have nothing to add to the excellent points you've just made. Annalie Longo has announced another retirement. We saw her retire from the Wellington Phoenix at the end of last A-League season. Now she is retiring from the national team. I'll believe it in 3 or 4 years if we don't see another comeback. But just quickly on New Zealand, the generational change. Macy Fraser taking a mental health break. Alyssa Wynnum never capped and now 12 months out with an ACL rehab. No Mackenzie Barry in this squad. Claudia Bunge not starting. It feels like hopefully the gap in the first game at least is a wake-up call for New Zealand to accelerate a bit of generational change, because we're 2 years away from Auckland in the Ninja A-League, and we see the bright green shoots of New Zealand football every week at Wellington Phoenix. I think that needs to start being reflected in the national team a little bit more.
Absolutely, and they're going at it again today. Will we see another huge result like a 5-0 win for the Matildas? We'll have to wait and see. But I want to now chat a bit about some VAR discussion that's been had during the week. So Head of Referees John Moss has suggested perhaps an alternative to VAR we could see be implemented for the Ninja A-League finals. It's this green card concept where you have the option as a coach to challenge a decision made by the referee if you deem it to be incorrect. Now, Teo, this is being trialled in the Oz Championships as we see. Talk us through a bit about it.
So for major incidents like penalties, red cards, you can actually have a coach's challenge. These are some examples in the Australian Championship where the coaches don't agree. It's their decision. So it's not VAR coming in as a referee. It is the coach making the call. You get 2 challenges, 1 more in extra time if you get there. What do you think?
I'm all for it. I think they're great examples we did see, and I think we had this discussion around this in the last Ninja A-League final series where there were a few controversial decisions, and this is a great cost-effective solution. So I am all for it. It puts it on, the teams themselves, and bring it on.
Well, it's how fitting you bring up last final series, because Amy, I mean, if you're
my face probably gave it all away.
If you're Jeff Hopkins, do you say, yes, referee and assistant, I know you saw it with the naked eye, come and look at it from the TV angles. Now, this one, I'm certain that they would have challenged in the grand final
there was
last year.
the Brooke Nunn challenge, the Taylor Ray handball, and the potential offside as well, of course, which separated the 2 teams and who was declared champion at the end of the day. So, look, I think it's a great idea to have in football. It's kind of like a captain's challenge in other sports that we see, but we've given that to the coaches. How quickly they can implement it and get the referee's attention from the sideline, I'm keen to understand a little bit more, but I think bring it on. If it makes the game a bit more exciting, but also clear-cut things that could have been seen better with VAR, makes it fairer, I'm all for it.
I think the point of difference is giving coaches the ownership of the challenge means that your fan base, your coach, your team, you're the ones challenging rather than the decision coming from above.
And that missed opportunity, you can't then go, the refs, ruined the game for. It's on you. You're then saying, whoops, I should have challenged and I didn't. So, I think it's a fantastic initiative,
Well, we will have to wait and see. It is only being mooted at the moment.
Great discussion though, Narlene, and thank you so much for bringing it to our attention. Enjoyed your chat today.
Thanks so much, Amy.
Yeah, there's a full complement of matches coming away this weekend in the Ninja A-League, and it will be headlined by the Sydney Derby.
From Williams, back to Harrison, and that's the opening goal. Cooney Cross, who's going to have a pop, and she's going to score another goal. Can it be 5? Skips around, it is 5. What a goal, and what a complete performance. 5-0 in the Sydney Derby.
She'll have what a ball there through for Courtney Vine. The first goal of the W-League season goes to Courtney Vine.
Goalkeepers Union may not agree. Here's the ball off the bar and it's finally across the line. It's a really costly giveaway because Sydney FC have made it 2-0.
To see the ball later for Simpson. She goes in. Oh my goodness! Remy Simpson just from outside of the box.
This is the Courtney Vine we know. What a finish! Courtney Vine! And now the volley! Palmed in! And it's a first A-League women's goal for Kirsty Benton!
And there is the finish. And that will seal the 3 points for Sydney FC.
It's Kaylee Talon Henniker!
Cutting it square, Dos Santos! It's a slice of Sydney Derby history.
Well, there you have it, over 2,000 days since the Wanderers were able to score against Sydney FC. And wasn't it a team when they did last, T? Where did they come from this week?
Yeah, look, I do remember that darkest day of my career, and I remember the names in that squad that they had, and yeah, it's been a while since they've been able to do any damage to Sydney.
Some of those names, Teo, Lynn Williams, Denise O'Sullivan, Hamilton, a young Cooney Cross, Courtney Nevin.
But why are we nostalgic about something from 2019 when this team has had 11 opportunities since then to do something about it? Sydney FC, they take care of business. I think the reason the Sydney Derby isn't more is because Sydney's at a standard that the Wanderers just can't chase or meet. I mean, they've won 22 out of 26 derbies. I mean, their dominance, Teresa, is just incredible. It's 10 wins and a draw, and a 0-0 draw at that over the last 11 games.
Yeah, look, it's certainly that passion and the significance of the derby has sadly diminished a little bit, and that's due to that dominance that Sydney FC have had over a long time. But if there's a time for the derby to be rejuvenated, it's this weekend. It has to happen.
Following the men's on the weekend as well.
Yeah, a win by the men, a poor Sydney FC season last year. And I think Wanderers, you know, look, let's just not think about the table at the moment. It is early, but they've put out some positive performances. And, you know, if I was the coach of either team, I'd be saying, you're going out, you're going to go fight in this match.
What I would love the derby to become is a game where you can throw out the form line and anything can happen. But again, we come into this game with Wanderers near the bottom and Sydney near the top. And you're right, Wanderers have been competitive in every game. And, you know...
But that never used to matter, Teo. Every derby, after that game, you felt like you went home and you were in a brawl. You'd been in a brawl.
How long did you stay in your bedroom for last time?
Well, that loss, that 5-0, I didn't come out for a few days, to be quite honest, till the next session.
But that's the thing, it hurts
Sydney
and so much, and it doesn't hurt.
Well,
maybe it hasn't hurt the Wanderers enough over this run, the same way that it hurts Sydney, that we're still talking about 2019
but this is where
as a seminal moment
now's
for
the
Sydney
time
FC.
to start. I'd be showing footage. I'd be, you know, trying to bring in former players to motivate them something, because this derby should have as much passion and fire that we saw in the men's derby the other day. I don't understand why it's diminished so much. So, yeah, this is a huge occasion, and both teams need to go out there and brawl.
You talk about former players. They have put Wanderers 64 players on the pitch in the derby since they last scored in the derby. So there's no shortage of former players who've lived this experience.
Sydney FC undefeated so far this season. They look to be back at their best, but there must be some vulnerabilities that either of you have noticed in the Sydney FC side that the Wanderers can take advantage of.
Certainly, and there's a lot of new players at Sydney as well. So this is why I'm saying this is a great opportunity for the Wanderers to come in and restart this narrative of the derby and, you know, do some damage, which they haven't been able to do for a long time. They're creating chances. Chisari's playing well. Harrison's moved up the pitch and she's been in plenty of derbies. You've got Liv Price out there, Kim up front, Eunice. These are all players that link together well, and they're giving Holly Caspers good service. She needs to finish her chances.
Well, let's hear from one of the new players for Sydney FC this season. That is their captain, Sarah Hunter.
Yeah, having not conceded any goals for the last 6 years, I think, in the derby. So, yeah, it's important, obviously, to win games. You have to, you know, score more goals than the other team. So keeping them at 0 makes it easier to win the games. So we've had a few clean sheets already this season. So we're hoping to maintain that in the next game.
Perfect. Yeah, and you'd want to, wouldn't you, as captain of Sydney FC, be able to hold on to that record?
Yeah, and she's stepped up as captain this season, and when you're the captain, you do feel extra responsible. So I'm sure, yeah, Sarah Hunter will be rallying the troops ready for the derby.
Well, let's change our focus now and have a chat about Melbourne City, because they will be taking on Wellington, fresh off their first win of the season. Teo, the ultimate test for Beverly Priestman's side.
Certainly is, because the historical record, again, very skewed. Melbourne City have won all 6 head-to-head games against Wellington. Doesn't matter where, Amy Park, control cyber pitch, across the ditch in New Zealand. Bev Priestman doesn't have the happiest memories of Melbourne either. In fact, I believe her last visit might have been a certain...
Matildas 4-0?
Yeah, a certain game where Canada lost by... I think she'd never lost by more than 2 goals in charge of Canada before that 4-0 defeat. So arguably the worst loss of her career. Would love to come to Melbourne and make a statement. Even a draw, though, would be a statement. Not just because of the Wellington injuries. We don't know if Samba is back, apparently building her minutes with a scratch match that was played last weekend. So hopefully not far away. T, how do you assess the Phoenix's chances?
Well, look, they had a really great outing, the win against the Victory. They had only 38% possession. They had 5 shots to Victory's 18, and they made 61 clearances. So they were able to absorb all of that pressure against a more dominant team.
Are you saying perfect preparation for Melbourne City, where they'll have even more possession?
In terms of confidence, yes, but I'm saying if they keep at that, no, it's not good. It's not a tactically sound sort of system to play by going forward. They won't be able to maintain that, but they need to, I guess, you see in those stats where they need to kind of improve. You know, you can't go into every match with 38% possession and expect to win.
Well, we know Melbourne City is a possession team, and of course they've had their AFC commitments, they've had players in the young Matildas, they've had Holly Mack setting up goals for the Matildas. How hard is it, T, to stay focused on the week-to-week grind of the Ninja A-League?
Well, I think the players would be loving it, having such a schedule for City. I think, you know, they're a great example of, or it's as close as it comes to being a full professional with, you got your Champions League games, your regular season games. So I think the players would be absolutely loving it. It's all football. And yeah, I think for their development as a team, for their team bonding, it'll do them wonders.
Honestly, my biggest concern for City coming into the season was I didn't think their best 11 correlated with their most senior 11. But Michael Matriciani, he wasn't afraid to even drop Catherine Harvey off the bench last season. And we haven't seen Uchendu play a huge amount. Danielle Turner's been starting, but we haven't seen much of Ellie Wilson. I don't think it matters how old you are, what leagues you've played in around the world. If there is a youngster like a Shelby McMahon or a Danella Buttress who is in the best 11 that week, they play. And I think Melbourne City, they have refined that a lot quicker than I thought. I thought it might be a bit of a longer feeling out process, but the Champions League showed us that they are humming as a team.
Yeah, I think he's got a load to think about as well. But those games also give him opportunities to see more players. So, and we know, like you said, he's not afraid to drop anyone if they're not performing. So, yeah, I'm excited to see them back in the A-League now after a great outing in the Asian Champions League.
Yeah, it will be a spectacle, that's for sure. Let's close out what's happening in the next round with our last 2 matches. Brisbane and Adelaide will go head-to-head. Brisbane have had a long couple of weeks to think about that loss to the Wanderers. What lessons would they have taken out of this?
I want to put this to you, Teresa. Adelaide last season, they beat Brisbane home and away. They beat Sydney home and away. They beat the Mariners home and away. If they don't win this weekend against Brisbane, that'll be 2 points this year compared to 9 that they picked up last year. Is this a must-win for Adelaide, or are you willing to say that even a draw is a good result?
This is a must-win for both teams this weekend. So, look, a draw, if it's a fair result, I think both teams, Brisbane, after their last loss, need to bounce back. And Adelaide, like you said, they've got a slow start. So this is almost like a mini-final in a way. I think there's going to be plenty of fire out there in this one. Who would I say it's more significant for? Both teams. They're both in the same situation.
This is the reality of holding Adelaide to a title contender standard. Like, if they draw this game, they could walk away and say, we've only lost 1 out of 4. We're on a 3-game undefeated streak. That's okay. But it is comparative to the previous season, 7 points worse off when you finished 3rd last season.
If we're talking this more mid-season, I'd be saying, yeah, you can, you start to have that conversation. Are they a championship team? Too early for me, but in terms of building confidence, moving forward, both teams need to go out and win this game, and only one can do that, or it'll be a draw.
Evenly matched teams, but for very different reasons, and both needing 3 points on the ladder. Let's wrap it up with the F3 derby. Looking at the form line, Teo, you'd have to say Newcastle are favourites for this one.
Would you? Because the Mariners hold that trophy and it's never actually ended up in Newcastle hands. The piece of guardrail is very much the Mariners because they've won the last 3 meetings between the teams. Now, Newcastle have had their best ever start to a season. This is a coin flip, T, because
it is.
The Mariners have the wood on Newcastle, but Newcastle have the feel-good factor. I just worry, is Anna Leach going to come back a bit demoralised after international duty with the way New Zealand have played and some of the goals that she's been conceding that haven't been getting conceded for Newcastle?
No, I don't think so. I think it would have been a fantastic experience for Anna Leach.
The goals weren't her fault.
No, and that too, you have to look at the quality of the goals scored against her and, sort of say fair play.
She didn't have a howler.
They were unsavable. She did not have a howler, but she'll come back ready as ever. And, like I said, positive thing for her having played international football. But, yeah, this is as close as it's been between the F3 rivals, so I'm really looking forward to it. Mariners' sort of confidence low at the moment, whereas the Jets have had their best start since who knows when. So
it is already the longest the Mariners have gone. They'd never gone 3 games without scoring before, so they need an early goal just to break the shackles and get off this longest ever streak they've been on without scoring.
So looking for the early goals from the Mariners, but in my book, the Jets still a little bit of a favourite. Let's take a look at the ladder and the fixtures that lay ahead this weekend in the Ninja A-League. And as you can see, Melbourne Victory sitting in spot number 1 on 9 points at the moment. They do have that game in hand, of course, over Sydney FC. The Jets in the top 4, as are Brisbane Roar. And then right down the bottom there, Western Sydney Wanderers and the Perth Glory following those back-to-back 3-0 losses. Plenty to look forward to in round 6 of the Ninja A-League. Melbourne Victory and Canberra United kicking us off on a Friday night at 7 p.m. in Melbourne. The Mariners and Newcastle Jets in that F3 derby. Melbourne City and Wellington Phoenix coming away on Sunday, followed by Adelaide United and Brisbane Roar, and the Wanderers and Sydney FC in the derby. Your quick pick, match of the round, team.
Oh, Sydney derby, hands down.
Look, I can't go past the Sydney derby either, but Canberra, they have not won away in Melbourne against the Victory since 2014. So this is hoodoo week. All sorts of streaks are there to be broken. The question is, which team's going to step up and do it?
Well, we will wait to find out. Teo Pellizzeri, Teresa Polias, thank you for your time on Dub Zone today. To all of you out there, Paramount Plus is the place to watch every single minute of the match. Sounds like a good Sunday afternoon on the couch for me. Until next week, I'm Amy Duggan. See you for the next Dub Zone.